Another victory. I'm getting so spoiled now as a Dolphin fan. Troy Stradford, all we've known for the last 4 weeks now is dubs. Dolphins now on a 4-game winning streak, which came right after a 3-game losing streak, which came right after a 3-game winning streak. 39-17 against Cleveland. It is the extra yard. I'm Alex Donno here with former Miami Dolphin Troy Stradford. Troy, how we doing today?
Doing great. Mondays are always great after Miami Dolphins win a football game, and they won in grand fashion. It wasn't like a nail biter this time. So
Yeah.
you saw the Miami Dolphins, in my opinion, win a different way, meaning using different weapons on the football field. And to me, that's the sign. I've been saying it throughout the year. It's a sign that it's a good football team because they're winning in different fashions. So very happy about this team right now. They're very dangerous.
Yeah, a couple things on that and doing it a different way. And it happened in both the passing game and in the running game. And in the passing game, it's like it's been so consistent all year long that typically Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle just put up these monster stats, right? But
Right.
I would say on Sunday, Trent Sherfield was the Dolphins' best receiver on that day. Like on that day, he was the Dolphins' best receiver. So that's one thing. And Alec Ingold also caught a touchdown with one of the most insane pump fakes from Tua. Like he fooled everybody. He fooled the entire Browns defense. He fooled me. He fooled the camera guy. But before we circle back to Tua and those MVP chants that were raining down, I want to ask our resident running back here about the running game. And this is a win-win no matter what your answer is. But is Jeff Wilson even better than Raheem Mostert?
I think it's two different running backs, and I really like how Jeff Wilson fits into the scheme that the Miami Dolphins are doing. But what I find very interesting as I watch these games moving forward, when I look at Coach McDaniel, right? He's one of those coaches that looks at the pieces that he has and he designs something for those pieces. For years, there have been so many coaches who get players and they want to fit them into what they know, what their blueprint is. And I don't see that with McDaniel. I think that he is one of those, yes, we're going to say it, one of those young genius offensive coaches that looks at the game a little differently, and he plays matchup football and he plays setup football. So when I say matchup football, he's sitting there looking at his personnel. Okay, early in the game, he's figuring out how they're trying to defend us, and he has an answer for everything so far. And then when I say setup football, I really believe that the Miami Dolphins, the second half of the game, they know where they're going to be successful. Like they set up a couple of plays in the first half. They ran a couple, dummy plays here or there, and they're sitting there saying that halftime adjustment. All right, this is working. We can hit on this. We can hit on that. So it's a joy to watch when I see the Miami Dolphins coaching staff. Coaching does make a difference. We put a lot of credit and put a lot of blame on coaches, but damn, Coach McDaniels, he is sitting there like just impressing all of us as fans. Well, me personally, I'm sitting there saying he would be a pretty interesting guy to play for. No question.
He's clearly been instrumental, and he's not the only factor, of course, but he's been instrumental in just this incredible improvement of QB1, Tua Tagovailoa, right? And it's a big piece of the pie. I give Tua credit because he also needed to get better and work hard in the offseason. So I'm not going to give everybody else the credit for what he's doing because he is growing and he is turning himself into an MVP candidate. But, McDaniel, their comfort with one another and the scheming out the best into the weapons the Dolphins have added. And it's not even just Tyreek to go along with Jalen Waddle because Sherfield and Ingold and the running backs. I mean, Tua talked about it after the game. As a professional, he's never been around just such a solid duo of running backs. Like he hasn't seen anything like that since he was at Alabama, and they just had 5 stars at every position. Like just now, the balance in Miami's backfield. And Troy, I wasn't at the game yesterday. I know a lot of people watching this probably were, but even watching this game on my TV with the volume not at a particularly high level, it was unmistakable those MVP chants for Tua. And it's not crazy at all. Like this is totally legitimate. Like this is not like Tuanon trying to just like get attention and like the, the fringe Tua fans like, yeah, this is our guy, MVP. No, he is playing at an MVP level, leads the NFL in passer rating. He and the former quarterback of Tyreek Hill might end up being the last couple guys standing in that MVP race because Tua's having an incredible year.
You look at this season that he's had. Let's talk about post-concussion, right? 10 touchdowns, 0 INTs, been sacked a couple times only, has protected the ball, no turnovers. And I'm sitting there saying, wow, he is really coming to his own. And I don't know what the trick was. I believe that he was always confident in himself from the start of the season and prior to the start of the season. He just needed people to believe in him, get in there with a system and a group of guys around him. He has whatever he wants at his fingertips, him and the coach, that is, where I'm sure he has free range to change plays if he sees something, and they can run the ball. And I told you a couple weeks ago, I said that running game is going to kick in sooner or later. It's going to kick in because you see teams, they're doing their homework study, and they're like, okay, how are we going to take this guy away? How are we going to take that guy away? Talking about the wide receivers. How are we going to shut down Tua? And I'm not sitting here saying they forget about the running game, but now, I mean, you sit there and you look at Wilson coming into the mix, and he has a little bit more, bravado in his runs. Like he's running downhill. He's bringing the wood. You may want to tackle him early on, but you could bet in the third quarter, into the third quarter, into the fourth quarter, you as a DB that's weighing like a $190, okay, 200 pounds, this big dude is coming at you, and he's coming at you full speed. You think twice about sticking your head in there as hard as you did there in the first quarter. So I just love the way things are shaping up offensively for the Dolphins.
I see the people in the chat will not forget that I am a reforming Tua doubter. They will not let me forget it. And you know what? That's fine. I'm glad you guys saved the receipts. If I'm wrong about this, and I'm thinking I was wrong about Tua, I don't know if I've ever been happier to be wrong. Like when it comes to my sports teams, right? Like it's different. Like if I'm a Dolphins fan and I'm telling people for years, like, oh, Zach Wilson blows, the Jets have a terrible. And if he like were to end up being really good, I still don't think he will be. But if he were to end up being like really good, I would hate to be wrong about that. But when it comes to the guy who suits up for my franchise, I'd love to be wrong.
There's a long line of people in front of you and behind you that just didn't believe that Tua could get this thing done. And the receipts are there. Like he struggled early on in his career, but again, he just didn't have the talent around him. And credit to Chris Greer for putting this all together. Coach McDaniel putting this all together, knowing the pieces that fit into what he wants to do, but designing plays for some of the talent that he has. And as a defense playing against that offense, I'm like, scratching my head. I'm like, where do we start? How do we break this down? How do we slow them down here, slow them down there? Tua gets rid of the ball so fast. He's so accurate with his passes as well. And the damage does not, and I've always thought this, the damage does not have to be 40 yards down the field, 50 yards down the field. They do that damage in, 7 yards to 11 yards, and they letting those guys run. And I always say, you take one bad angle, and it's lights out.
Yeah, a few stats that just illustrate the type of magical year that Tua is having and why he is a bona fide MVP candidate in my mind. This season, Troy, in games that Tua has started and finished 7-0.
7-0.
Going back to his last 14 starts, 7 this year and his previous 7 from last year, 13-1 in games that he started and finished. And and another Dolphins milestone. So he's now the only Dolphins quarterback to ever have 3 consecutive games with at least 3 touchdown passes and 0 interceptions. So he hasn't thrown a pick in over a fortnight I think that's 2 weeks. I don't know, in like a month. He's throwing a pick in like a month. All right. So this is just unbelievable because not only is he making plays down the field, and the entire offense is making plays because it takes more than just a quarterback to
Right.
execute an offense, and that's
Offensive line's
why
been playing outstanding.
that's a
Outstanding
great
football.
point. And
Right.
so much inconsistency in the personnel. Tua had a completely clean jersey yesterday. Didn't get sacked a single time.
That's a good thing. Tua's uniform was clean, and the punter's uniform was clean, right? Two
Yeah.
guys. The punter didn't even get into the
Yeah,
game.
that's
and
right. I forgot to mention that. Oh,
they didn't
man.
even punt the ball. They came up with a turnover, and okay, the Browns scored. The Dolphins came back and scored. The Browns on the move again. They give it to Chubb, and next you know, Chubb, he puts it on the ground. The Miami Dolphins come up with that. And then it was just a runaway from there. Like the Miami Dolphins, they just put their foot on the gas. They executed well. And I mean, it was some good football to watch.
And, the Browns, they've got a crap win-loss record, but they've got a lot of talent on their team. Like, it's a talented team. A lot of people thought this could potentially be a trap game. And on both sides of the football, I'm really impressed with what the Dolphins did, Troy, because if you look at some of the most talented players on that Browns team, you had to keep Nick Chubb in check. The Dolphins did it. I mean, he padded his stats late because he scored that 33-yard touchdown in garbage time, which like padded his stats. But they kept him. They kept him completely in check.
You take away the 33-yard run, and I believe he had 30 plus yards on 12 carries or something like that. He didn't have a great average.
Yeah.
So the Miami Dolphins, they did a good job of controlling that running game of the Browns because we knew that the Browns were coming in here trying to run the ball down the Dolphins' throat. They struggled a little bit this year with the running game, and they didn't want Brissett to be throwing the ball 40 times in a game.
Right.
And so that was their game plan. And the Miami Dolphins, they did an outstanding job on both sides of the football. That kickoff coverage and the field goal kicking right now, those are the two issues that the Miami Dolphins have to straighten out, but that's how it goes.
Well, and I do want to get to that. Before I get to that, I also need to give the Dolphins credit, the O-line specifically, because, so for Cleveland's offense, had to keep Nick Chubb in check. They did it. Cleveland's defense, Myles Garrett, Jadeveon Clowney, like, I forgot.
I didn't hear their name.
I forgot he played for them. Like, I knew he played for them, but then during the game, I'm like, oh, did he suit up today? Was he inactive? Like, it completely kept him
quiet, and that's a good thing.
I like this comment from Tony. Jacoby Brissett continues his streak of not winning games he starts in Miami. If he could have just bottled up what he did on like the first two drives, he would have had a really nice day. Because like the first couple drives, I'm like, oh man, this might be a shootout. But Brissett was looking sharp. There was one deep completion he made where it was a wounded duck, but it was like a well-timed throw. But I was like, man, is Jacoby Brissett going to come in here and make us regret ever giving this guy up?
But then he turned into Jacoby Brissett later on in the games. So he started hot. He was on a nice streak. They caught the Miami Dolphins sleeping a little bit. But, the game settled down. And I always talk about football games. It's like a boxing match. The first couple rounds, you're feeling your opponent out. And then you start to figure things out. Like, okay, I could get him here. I could get him there. And I think that's what the Miami Dolphins are doing. I really believe that.
How much better do you think that Browns team can be once they get Deshaun Watson back from suspension, and assuming he can put all the baggage behind him? Because there's been just a trail of destruction following that guy around. And also, he hasn't played football in like 2 years, so he's got to shake off some rust as well. But how much better can Deshaun Watson make that Browns team?
That's a good question, because you just said it. He hasn't played football in like 2 years, right? Mm-hmm. Went through training camp, but he hasn't been on. I guess he could go to the practice field starting today or tomorrow, whatever. And he just has to knock that rust off. He has to be able to get his timing down with his new receivers. It's going to be a strange situation. Now, will he lift that team a little bit? Like emotionally, will they be a little bit more pumped to play? Even though they're struggling a little bit record-wise this season, he is going to be that natural lift where people are going to say, okay, here we go. We ready to go now. We survived. You know, we didn't really implode, but we're all right. We could still make a run here late in the season. I'm just curious to see how well the kid is going to play. Not only has he not played football in 2 years, he hasn't been hit in 2 years. So the first time he takes a hit, I wonder how his body is going to respond to that. Like, your body has to be conditioned to a little activity of getting hit. You know, they always protect quarterbacks in practice and stuff like that. But you get a little bit of conditioning when it comes to that. Deshaun Watson, he has had none of that. So it's going to be very interesting to see how he comes back. They play Buffalo next week.
Oh, they do. I didn't even look ahead for them. I mean, I hope they win. I mean, I don't want Buffalo to win.
Too. I'm like, get it together.
Yeah, please get it together. And by the way, God bless the Minnesota Vikings because that was spectacular. You know, Troy, honestly, entering into the week, I wasn't really even paying attention to the divisional standings because I didn't imagine Buffalo would lose. And Minnesota's like 8-1. They've got a low key really good football team, but I didn't imagine Buffalo would lose. You know, both New England and the Jets had the bye week this week, so I wasn't even like really thinking about first place. But then I was listening, on my way, to the studio to do the late Dolphins post game. I was listening to the network post game. Travis Wingfield and OJ McDuffie, and then I hear like Travis is like all going crazy because he was watching the end of the Buffalo game, and he's like, "Dolphins are in first place. Dolphins are in first." Crazy, but I'm sitting there in the car. I'm like, "Wait, the Dolphins are in first? Is that real? Like the Dolphins are now first place in the division now?" Listen, if the Jets win their next game, they do have a tiebreaker over the Dolphins, the same way they've got a tiebreaker over the Bills. But right now, the Dolphins 7-3. Are alone in first place in the AFC East. The Jets are 6-3. The Bills are 6-3, and the Patriots are 5-4. This is like the super division, Troy. This is exactly what the AFC West was supposed to be, but nobody got the memo that the Raiders were going to suck. Instead, the AFC East is the division of champions right now.
That's right. The AFC East, you could say the West, but Kansas City is kind of running away with that. You got to look at the NFC East also. So for the first time in a long time, we have two of the Eastern conferences that are doing well. And it's been a while. Like, no one thought the Miami Dolphins were really going to do this. No one thought the New York Giants were going to play the way that they're playing. No one thought the Philadelphia Eagles were going to still be undefeated. They take on Washington tonight. They have that good chance of going to 9-0, which is damn impressive. And that team looks good all over the place.
Yeah, Washington stinks. I think the Eagles are 11-point favorites in that game tonight. So, it's they've had some lucky breaks, but credit to them because like you don't start 8-0 by accident, right? Have they had a couple of lucky breaks in there? Sure, but you don't start 8-0 by accident. It's a good football team. So I want to in a second. I want to answer this question from. Oh my God, this is like the most complicated name I've ever seen. How would you pronounce that? Ikaika? Well, it's a great question. I wish I wasn't butchering your name. Thank you for the question. I want to get to that in a sec. Did you want to take a stab at it, Troy?
I'm going to chop it up.
You're squinting. That's not a good sign.
Indande?
You're like, you're seeing letters that I just don't think are there. The one that I've got up on the big screen here. Can you see that?
I only have one. Oh, wait. Oh. No, I won't even take a stab at that.
But I do want to answer that question where we see Tua and where the odds makers see Tua in the MVP race. But guys, we have to talk about prizepicks.com. Like, if you haven't started using Prize Picks yet, Prize Picks mobile app, prizepicks.com, I feel like you're just missing out on the most awesome secret. Maybe you've seen their billboards. Maybe you've seen people talking about Prize Picks. You've heard us talking about them on the 5 Reasons Sports Network. For whatever reason you haven't tried it yet, guys, it's so easy. It's so fun. and you can win real cash playing Prize Picks. It's basically daily fantasy on steroids.
Yes.
What you do is you make selections on Prize Picks. It's basically parlays. You select 2, 3, or 4 players, even 5 players, and just predict if they're going to go over or under their stat projections. And if you get 2, 3, 4, 5 picks correct, you're winning big time money. You can win up to, I think, 20 times cash back. I've never won one of those 5s, Troy. If you get the 5 picks, because you've won a couple of those. How many? What's the multiplier in that? Is that like 20 times your money back? Because I think it's times 10 for 4. So is it times?
Yes.
I think it's times 20 for 5.
I thought it was times 10, to be honest with you.
Maybe it is.
I don't know,
times
but
10.
I'll find out in about an hour and a half, because
when you win another one.
Yeah. Yes.
Troy has been lighting it up, winning these big time selections. So, like, I'm looking at tonight, for example. Go ahead.
I lost my bet this week, but I don't mind. And I lost because Tyreek didn't hit the goal. But I'm like, that's all right. The Dolphins won, and they were spreading the ball around a little bit. I was okay with losing that one. Not mad at all.
And you can kind of forgive Tyreek for going under, because he's been over pretty much every week of the year.
Right.
Okay, so hold on.
Start shading to him, right? I
got the pronunciation here.
You got it.
Kaika. Well, they wrote it in. Kaika is how you say that name.
Okay.
I think I almost nailed it the first time I took it, but I was so intimidated by it. I couldn't say it. But hold on, let me bring this Prize Picks banner up so you guys know how to sign up. So I'm looking tonight, Troy. Taylor Heineke, the Washington QB, over under 205.5 passing yards. Do you think he goes over or under that against Philly? I'm leaning to the under on Heineke.
I'm going under.
Yeah.
I'm going under on that. Philly's defense is doggone good.
Yeah.
Yes.
And what about Jalen Hurts? 242.5 passing yards. Do you think he goes over? I think that's a good number, because I'm struggling with that, because I could see them winning comfortably with him throwing for 230. Like, I don't know if he has to throw more than 242.5 against that crap team.
I'm going to go over on that one. I'm going to go under Washington, over Philly quarterbacks.
I like it. I like it when we can go under on one of them and over on the other. It kind of makes it more fun. So, guys, we have fun every single Sunday, every single Monday, Thursday night, doing these NFL picks on Prize Picks. It's so easy to sign up. Create a free account on Prize Picks. Now, you do have to deposit money if you want to win money, but it's very easy to deposit, very easy to withdraw. But create your account first. You download the free mobile app, Prize Picks, or you go to their website, prizepicks.com. It takes minutes to create your account, and then it takes like 60 seconds or less to make your selections. And when you sign up, make sure you use our code 5. Spell it out, FIVE, because when you use our code 5, they're going to match your first deposit 100% up to $100. So if you don't use our code, you're missing out on doubling your money, right? So you deposit $100, get $100 free when you sign up with our code 5. Prize Picks truly is daily fantasy simplified.
I had to have a talk with my son yesterday. He came over, we watched the game, and he starts telling me about this site that he's playing on. And I go, oh, I play on a site like that. It's called Prize Picks. He's like, yeah, that's it.
No way.
And I go, dude, you didn't like watch the show and get the code word? I said, they would have matched your money. And he goes, oh, man. I said, there you go. There you go.
And I always feel bad when that happens to people, because I listened to 3 yards per carry, and we're like a sister show of 3 yards per carry. And I listened to that show, and I hear Alfredo talking about how sometimes people will actually sign up because they heard the ad on 3 yards per carry, and they still won't use the code because they can track what links people are signing up on. So if you hear, that's why I make sure to throw out the code 100 times, because if you hear the code on our show, don't shoot yourself in the foot by not using the code when you sign up, FIVE, and they're going to double your money.
Free money.
All right, so let me see if I can share my screen here with these MVP odds for the NFL. Now, disclaimer, I think these were published before yesterday's games, not after. So that would, just based on the way yesterday's games went, that would help the cause for Tua, and it would hurt the cause of Josh Allen, right? Because Josh Allen, he lost the game twice. The fumble in the he lost that game twice, so that didn't help his MVP odds. But so this was heading into yesterday's games. The favorite right now, and I agree with him being the favorite. We'll see if our guy can pass him by season's end. But Pat Mahomes plus 200, Jalen Hurts, who plays tonight, plus 250, Josh Allen plus 350. I would imagine his odds have probably worsened a little bit. And I would imagine Tua, who was plus 800 yesterday, so that gives him the fourth best odds heading into the MVP race. Let me ask you, Troy, because I imagine Allen took a little bit of a hit and Tua got a boost yesterday. Do you think Tua right now has surpassed Josh Allen in the MVP race, or do you think he just narrowed the gap a little bit? Because just based on the way these odds makers work, they love Josh Allen, and we all know the media hates Tua, right? I feel like they probably would still favor Allen slightly, but I think Tua has closed the gap.
Yeah, he has definitely closed the gap. I think they have Patrick Mahomes 1 correct, Jalen Hurts 2 correct. Josh Allen, yes. Josh Allen, if Tua had done what he did at the end of that game yesterday, Tua would have been run out of town down here in Miami. Absolutely.
Right.
Like how he ended that game was just a disaster. It just like imploded on him. But I think Tua has closed the gap. Like his stats just keep piling up. And as long as you don't turn over the football, you're going to give your team a better chance to win. You're going to have better stats. I mean, the Miami Dolphins, right? Yesterday, offensively, they were like, I don't know, 420, 425 total offense, running and receiving. That's dangerous. That's like a weapon in itself. When you're sitting there, you have no idea what to pick. But yeah, I think that Tua, after his performance the last 3 weeks, he has closed that gap, especially with the performance that Allen just put up. I definitely think that he closed it.
Yeah, I highlighted it there.
Tyreek is on there.
Tyreek is he's low. He's very low on the list at plus 8,000. But he's on, and we talked about this a little bit last week. Like a week ago, who was the stronger MVP candidate, Tyreek or Tua? Prisoner of the moment, probably, but considering, Tua had a much better performance yesterday than Tyreek. Tyreek scored a touchdown, but Tua put up most of his numbers without Tyreek because he was spreading the football around so much. Tua definitely feels like the much stronger candidate today than Tyreek does. And also, Troy, I think one of the reasons why Tyreek's odds are so low, you look at what every other person on this list has in common. They're all quarterbacks.
They play quarterback.
Yes. Tyreek Hill is the only non-quarterback even on this list.
They get to throw to 5 other guys in the game. They get to pad their stats in other areas where, Tyreek, finally they kind of shaded to him a little bit. He wasn't the primary receiver often.
Yeah.
And so he had a day where he only had, 5 catches. And he's going to have those days as a wide receiver. But him having that day as a wide receiver, not over 100 yards, not 10, 13 catches, Tua still got his. So advantage to the quarterback all the time.
Yeah, Tyreek, he actually led the team in catches yesterday, but 5 catches, 44 yards. Like for him, that's like a terrible game. Like most receivers
like
would
first
love
quarter.
Yeah, most receivers would love 5 catches and a touchdown. For him, that's like his worst game of the year. That's how good he's been.
Exactly.
By the way, huge shout out to Shake Money. Shake, thank you so much for the super chat. We really appreciate you, man. He finally gets to watch us live. I love it. Because and for those who can't watch us live, we do the replays are available, right? If you can't watch live here on a Monday at around 3:00, you can get the audio feed on the 3 Yards Per Carry podcast channel. You can always get the video feed on 5 Reasons Sports YouTube.
Donald, let me throw something at you. MVP. Who has changed this team more? Because I think MVP gets, quantified not the way it should be.
Right.
Because the most important person to this team individually, in my opinion, is Tyreek Hill. You asked me that question last week, like who would get it? But
Ooh.
Tyreek Hill changed the culture. He
Huh.
changed the attack. He has done a most valuable player to the team. It's not always best numbers, in my opinion. Who had the biggest impact on this Miami Dolphins team outside of the coach, right? Because he changed everything.
Yeah.
But who's that one player who's had the biggest impact? And I think it's Tyreek Hill.
See, that's such a tough one because you framed it that way, and I still disagree. And I only
Okay,
say that because in the games that Tua missed, Tyreek was
good
still
point.
putting up numbers, but the team didn't win. Right. Because even like when Bridgewater or Skyler were playing court, like Tyreek was still putting up big numbers, but the team wasn't winning those games. They only win when Tua plays.
That's the one point that I can't overcome. I really can't. The only thing I throw in with that, I go, okay, the two quarterbacks that played, that usually the backup quarterback usually doesn't come in there and the team does not drop off. Like
Right.
that's a
Yeah.
team thing.
Yeah.
That's the only thing I have to say to counter that. But I look at this and I still remember that very first practice going to, and I put my eyes on Tyreek, and I think it was a half a practice, and I said, "Oh my gosh, this is insane!" Like I didn't say that about Tua.
Yeah.
Tua looked better. Tua throws in rhythm. He is definitely on point right now. But I sat there and I said, "Oh my goodness, this kid right here, he's gonna change everything offensively for the Miami Dolphins. Everything." So right now, I'm gonna say Tyreek right now.
I
I
like
mean,
it.
Tua is
It
gonna win over him. Who with the Miami Dolphins at the end of the year? They have their own team awards. Forget about the whole league MVP, right?
mm,
Team awards. The Miami Dolphins are going to select a team MVP. Who would that be? Tua or Tyreek?
I are we talking about like a team vote, like all the players vote on this? Is that what we're talking about? Or are we talking about
Players,
like
players, players do not
yeah.
vote on that.
Well, players
That's
do
like
not vote.
no,
If
that's
if if if
coaches.
if play okay, if players don't vote, I think they give it to Tua. I think if players do vote, I think they would give it to Tyreek because I don't know. It feels like he's the leader of that locker room. I think Tua
Right.
is a leader, but I think Tyreek is the leader of
Yeah.
that locker room. He's the guy who's responsible for the ping pong table. That usually means you're the leader of the locker room.
He allows everyone else to be more relaxed on that football team. Simple as that.
Yeah.
He takes the pressure. I put the spotlight on me. I got it. Don't worry about it. I got to go with Tyreek right now.
Okay, I like it. I mean, listen, I you can't go wrong either way. I would love to see a Dolphins player win MVP. This is a good football question here, Troy, from Indade. Is the defense is failing in containing a mobile quarterback? Is that more on the linebackers or on the D line? Isn't it usually
Ooh.
more on the D line, not setting the edge? I know it can be both. Absolutely
Yeah.
can be either. But what do you think with these Dolphins, right? And now I got news for you guys. Justin Fields is doing it to everybody. He had another huge
To
game
everyone.
yesterday. But yes, is that usually more on the linebackers or on the D line?
I think that's a combination of just the defense that they're in. If the Miami Dolphins are in man to man and they don't have anyone in the middle field and they fail to get that pressure with the defensive line or the five guys that they rush, or maybe even the six guys that they rush, and they create a running lane for that quarterback who could absolutely run, that's going to present some problems. So it's not just one, it's not just the defensive line, it's not just the linebackers. It's a combination of both of them, not getting the pressure and getting out of their lanes and creating lanes.
I'm glad. I feel like
To MVP, Dr. President of the Association of Reformed Tour Haters.
I
There
don't
you
know if
go, man.
Brooklyn Rob is going to let me have this one though, because like he will not let me. He will not even let me on the. He won't even let me cheer for my team because I had the audacity to doubt the quarterback. But
Yeah.
I'm just throwing this out there that our guy you, or a guy or girl, I don't know what You's gender is. I have no clue. But they say Tua MVP, Donno, president of the Association of Reformed Tua Haters. I don't want, you know what, Troy? I don't want that honor because I don't deserve it, because I was a doubter, right? It's like at the end of Game of Thrones, spoiler alert, like everybody wanted to give the Iron Throne to Jon Snow. He didn't want it. I don't want it. Like I am the Jon Snow of this equation, because not only do I know nothing, somebody said that in the chat earlier, but I'm also the Jon Snow because I don't want it. I will admit, I'm still in timeout for not believing in Tua, so I will let someone else take that honor. I'm just a Dolphin fan enjoying the ride.
What I enjoy is that, every day I'm watching a sports show, Sports Center, whatever, and Tua is always part of the conversation. The Miami Dolphins are always part of the conversation. Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, they are part of the conversation. And it's kind of weird because I would have to get my Dolphin news, I had to always go local because they were never the national story. Now you just go to your TV, turn it on. Oh, they're talking about the Dolphins. Let's go. I like it. I really like it, man.
What do you think? I mean, I guess there's something about Miami, because when Tua wasn't doing so well, they'd bring it up at the drop of a hat. Now that Tua is doing really well, they bring it up. Like I don't know. I feel like we'll never be the Cowboys, because the Cowboys are getting coverage come hell or high water. But the Dolphins are like right up there with teams that get a ton of coverage.
Yeah, Dolphins are right up there. When it comes to Dolphin fans, I really believe it's like a group that were over here. I mean, they've now come to this side, the believer side.
Yeah.
But in the beginning, it was like this, you could just kind of split. You could argue on both sides, and the people who have been arguing in favor of him, they have the upper hand right now, and people are eating crow like you and other people out there. You're taking your words back, but that's all right. You're still Dolphin fans, right?
That's right.
It makes for good radio.
It does.
Good TV, all of that.
It does. And listen, I admit when I'm wrong. I know some people out there don't do that. I do admit when I'm not wrong very often, but I do admit when I'm wrong. You had brought something up earlier, Troy, that it was a really strong, really balanced game from the Dolphins outside of a couple things on special teams. What is going on with his kicker? Jason Sanders has turned to mud. Now, he did make 2 field goals in the game, but the man missed 2 extra points. Like, even if that was a college kicker, I would be frustrated with 2 extra. You're talking about a grown man making multiple millions of dollars per year, missing 2 extra points in a game. Do the Dolphins need to bring in a street free agent for competition? What, and it seemed like a good time for that going into the bye week. No,
this is a delicate situation. I always say it's head trash when it comes to a kicker. And really, any player, if your confidence is not there, your game is not there. Yeah. And kickers, they have all of this time during the game, during a drive, to sit there and beat themselves up inside their own head, because no one's talking to them. No one goes over and talks to the kicker, right? They let him do his thing. He gets warm. He gets loose. And all he is doing is he's sitting there saying, oh, my goodness. Perfect weather. We're not sitting here talking about, snow, sleet, freezing rain, bad snaps. Everything has looked on point, mechanical-wise. He's just shanking those things or pushing them, and that's all on him. I don't know who has to sit down and talk with him, but he definitely needs to go talk to someone just to get his head straight.
Thankfully, we can kind of laugh about it because the Dolphins won the game 39-17.
It's going to cost us at some point.
And that's the thing. And I wanted to ask you, because you weren't a kicker, you were an actual football player. And, and now place kicking has been part of the game forever, for 150 years. I don't know how long it's been. It's been a part of the game forever, right? I've actually heard sports talk radio hosts in the past make the argument that the NFL should eliminate kickers because it's not fair for like someone who's not a real football player to actually decide the outcome of a game. So on that note, how frustrating was it as a player? And listen, you played, like, the Dolphins had some great kickers over the years, so you were pretty spoiled. But, during your playing career, how frustrating is it when like the actual real football players are making enough plays to win a game and some nerd from Eastern Europe misses a kick and costs you a W?
Eastern Europe. It's part of it. It's hard. You carry him off when he hits the winning field goal, and when he misses, you're just dejected. And that's when you're really pissed off, when he misses it, and you sit there and you say, damn it, I just played 60 minutes, worked my butt off for 60 minutes on and off the field, taking these hits, doing this, doing that. And all he got to do is go make a kick. Yeah. And but they're part of the team, it's part of the game. I don't think they should eliminate it. I really don't, because we see what happens. There are so many games this year where field goal kick was blocked, missed. It adds an element to the game. So I say keep it a part of the game.
And I agree with that, because I even remember, and I think it was on like CBS Sports Radio on the weekend a few months ago, where I heard this host did like a whole hour on how they should eliminate field goal kicking, and I'm listening to it in the car, and I'm like, okay, like, he makes some interesting points, but it's really a ridiculous topic to spend an hour on. Yeah. It's like, it's been part of the game for 150 years, and it makes the game a lot more exciting. Good and bad. Like if you're betting on games, or even if you're playing fantasy with a fantasy kicker, how like one kick can decide a game, right? It makes the game a lot more exciting for everybody else. And the NFL is about making money and making people excited at the end of the day.
It helps with the point spread also. Remember that gambling is a big part of this. But a few years ago, when the NFL decided to change and push the extra point back, people are like, no big deal. It has turned into a huge deal in a number of football games. So it adds a little intrigue. It's no longer automatic. And I like that. Like, hold the kickers accountable to, playing the football game. You got to do it.
Yeah. Another way the game has changed, I feel like, over the last 3 or 4 years is everybody goes for more fourth downs now. Like, have you noticed that? And it's like, and listen, I'm just an armchair quarterback, but I've been screaming for this for years. Cause like sometimes when teams are just not moving the ball, trading punts on like 4th and 1, I'm like, you have 4 downs. Like, you're not required by law to punt it on every, like, you got a 4th and 1. Sometimes you got to roll the dice in YOLO. Like, if it's like 4th and 12 in your own territory, I get it. But sometimes a 4th and 1 between the 40s, you got to go for it. And like, everybody's doing that now. They didn't used to always do that.
Who do you have to believe in more, your defense or your offense? Going for it on those 4th and 1s. And,
I think it's 50-50. Like, I think it really is, because like,
you got to have belief in both.
Yeah, because there are certain games, and we've seen this with the Dolphins, because the Dolphins, sometimes the defense has been Jekyll and Hyde. Like, there's certain games where it's like the defense does not have it today. Other games where it's like, they can't score on us, right? So and that comes into, you're right about that, because I know when Mike McDaniel makes that decision, it goes on the flow of the game, and it has to go on, like you said, if you come up short, and the Dolphins, wasn't it yesterday they came up short on a 4th down yesterday. So it just happened yesterday. You have to trust your defense to be complimentary.
Okay, so if the kicker was more accurate this year, automatic, right?
Yeah.
Would your coach play a little more safely once he crossed the 50? We be in these situations where, hey, we're going for it on 4th and 1. Which is part of excitement about the game as well, whether you make it or you get stopped. Like, that kicker plays a major role in play calling. If they're going to go for it on 3rd and 1 or 4th and 1, they're going to kick the ball. It definitely has to stay a part of this game.
That's a very good point. The only bummer this week is, and they deserve a little rest, is we're heading into the bye week. So 4 game winning streak, we head into the bye. the next time we see our Dolphins will be on, I guess this is, Thanksgiving weekend, right? The 27th. Yeah, that's the Sunday after Thanksgiving. They're going to yes, which looks, I mean, should be a winnable game. Let's hope the Dolphins can carry their momentum through the bye week. What did you do, Troy? Bye weeks and you're playing games. Like, how much do you still train? How much time do you take off?
Well, for those who have any knick-knack bumps and bruises, they still have to report to rehab, right? You got to go in, you got to spend a couple hours with the trainer or whoever it is that you're working with. So you really don't get a lot of time to jet out of town. Nowadays, I'm sure they probably got like 3 days off. Maybe you could go out of town, but that's the biggest fear of coaches. Too much free time brings trouble. And,
Right.
You go home, you go hang around your buddies that you haven't been around a little bit. You're on a nice little high, you go out, and all it takes is for one knucklehead to do something wrong. And then all of a sudden you find yourself in trouble. So, like I mentioned that Shula would call a practice like on a Saturday just so we wouldn't get out of town. And it was all on purpose. She's like, no, I'm not letting knuckleheads get loose. They're just going to run to town. They're going to jet out of town. I'm not going to do that. So that's my biggest fear about the off week, the bye week. Too much free time. It's not about just clowning around and not working out. You're still going to stay on top of your craft, but trouble is right around the corner. So I hope the Miami Dolphins avoid that.
I hope so too. Last thing here. If the season ended today, Dolphins win the AFC East. The season doesn't end. Spoiler alert, the season does not end today. Dolphins right now, first place. New York Jets, half game behind. Bills also half game behind. Patriots, game back, full gear, game and a half back, I guess. Troy, how do you think this finishes based on what you've seen so far? Because we're starting to see some chinks in the armor with the Buffalo Bills, and the Dolphins do have the head-to-head. Now they got to face them again in Buffalo, which could end up deciding the division. But do you think we take this over the finish line? Because I think now that the Dolphins have a balanced attack and a running game to go with the passing game, I think we can win this division.
That's pretty scary what the Miami Dolphins have put together, how they could attack any defense that's out there. But I know this, it will make for great football when they have to go play the Jets this year, when they have to go play the Buffalo Bills this year. They still got to go to New England, am I right? They still got to go to New England also. So that's 3 games. And yes, it may be inclement weather. So that's where the run game comes into play also. If they can consistently run the ball on the ground, move the ball on the ground, you got a better chance when you find yourself, playing in some bad weather. It's funny. We used to play up in Buffalo, so you go to sleep at night. As soon as you woke up in the morning, first thing you did, you ran to the window, opened up the curtain, and said, "Oh my God, we're long day today." But as a football player, your mindset, or my mindset was, and most of the guys are the same way, because it would even come out in like a talk, like in the locker room. Hey, we got 3 hours. 3 hours, suck it up, get yourself warm somehow, stay warm, and we get back on the plane and we go to Miami and we party. And that's it. So that's how they got to approach this thing.
Love it. By the way, to end Dade, wouldn't shock me if this happened, right? He says Dolphins morph into a run dominant team for the second half of the season. Total mind F. I mean, that's McDaniel's bread and butter, right? I mean, he's the run game guru. That's where he cut his bones. I don't know if I got that expression right. He made his bones as a run game coordinator. So I wouldn't surprise me now that you have the personnel to do it.
Right. Got the personnel to do it. And I mean, those were some big assholes that they were running through on yesterday. I mean, I'm sitting there saying that's pretty nice.
Yeah. By the way, this might be the text of the day. I tuned in late. Is that Troy Vincent? He was really close.
Close.
He was
Must be
close.
young. Stratford,
Oh, I
buddy,
love that.
Stratford.
He was close. I did say in the chat that it's, of course, the great Troy Stradford. Troy Vincent also seems like an awesome guy. I think I
Oh,
feel like
Troy
I've met
was,
him
yeah,
before.
doing
Yeah.
good things with the NFLPA also.
Yeah, sure thing. So yeah, let me send out some more shout outs. Thanks to Mark. Thanks to Indade, Carlos. Okay, let's play. Who do you think it is, Troy? This is a super secret quiz. 19-19 or 20-9. One is Tua, one is Herbert. Guess whose record is whose? 20-9 versus 19-19.
I know the 20-9 is Tua.
Yeah.
Yeah, like Herbert. That conversation is taking place all over areas now also, right? You still taking Herbert over Tua?
I'd
I'm
love to see
taking
what
Tua
Herbert
right
can do
now.
with these weapons. I'll tell you that.
Well, hopefully we won't see that. We won't see that.
Oh man, I love it. The apology is in. I don't think Troy takes offense to it, but
Oh,
we
it's all
appreciate
good. No problem.
we appreciate it. Oh man, let me see who else was in here. Wait, Ikaika. I feel like I'm screwing it up all over again. But yeah,
I forgot it.
all the way from Hawaii. And by the way, being from Hawaii, I hope you and the entire great state of Hawaii accept my apology for doubting Tua, because I know how much he is loved in his home state. I was wrong, okay? Please accept my apology.
You have to apologize to the entire region, huh? That's
Every Pacific island, even like I'm apologizing to like what other islands are in the Pacific? I'm Tahiti. I'm apologizing to Tahiti, American Samoa. I'm apologizing to the entire region. I owe them all an apology. Hello
right.
hello to Tony Two Times, who is I don't think he's originally from Hawaii, but he does live there now. Thanks to Shake Money for the super chat. Thanks to
That's for
Brooklyn
my
Rob
Hawaii
for
guy.
yeah.
That's hello, and
I've never been there. Have you been there?
yes, been there once.
Nice.
Good time. Pretty.
Okay.
Nice.
Someday
was
it's a
young,
bucket
though.
list thing. Oh yeah?
Yeah.
Getting in any trouble over there?
No.
I don't mean like trouble. I mean like late nights and all that.
No. I had fun though. I had fun.
Oh man. Thanks to you. Thank you for tuning in. My guy Doug E. Fresh. I didn't even see this before. Let me ask this question. Does Troy, do you know of a kicker who was in a bad funk who got out of that bad funk? If so, what do you suggest McDaniel do to get him straight? Talking about, is there anything you talked about, all that mind trash and stuff? How do you snap out of it?
I don't know. Everyone is an individual, right? And it's just like being in a funk at work, your regular job, whatever you do, picking up girls, whatever it is, you got to change something, and how you change is how you change. But it's been going on too long for Jason Sanders, so he needs to do something. I don't know. Go back to the beginning.
The new
Get on the
XFL
plane on your off day and go back to your old high school. Do something. I don't know. I don't have the answer to that one.
That's it. I wish I had the answer to it, but I do not. I do not understand kickers any better than any of you guys do. Thanks to Russell for tuning in. Splimos, thank you. And Julio. I think I got everybody in there. Maybe. Yeah. Huge thank you to everybody who tuned in and made the extra yard a part of your day today. Reminder, if you missed any part of the show, full video replay will be available on YouTube. I think it already is available on YouTube on the 5 Reasons Sports YouTube channel. And the full audio is going to be available probably within the next 90 minutes on the 3 Yards Per Carry podcast feed. He's Troy Stradford.
Yes. Are we doing the show next week?
We can. Okay. I mean, just the bye week's not going to stop us. We can start. Right. We can start previewing that Houston matchup.
Okay, that shouldn't take long.
We'll do a 10-minute show.
No, I'm not going to get cocky. I'm not going to get overconfident. I'm just going to stay the course, 1 week at a time.
I love it. Awesome job as always. He's Troy Stradford. I'm Alex Donno. Make sure you guys support Prize Picks with our code 5FIVE to double your first deposit up to $100. And we will talk to you guys. It might be a 5-minute show, might be a 45-minute show next week, coming off the bye week, right here on another episode of The Extra Yard, part of 3 Yards Per Carry on the 5 Reasons Sports Network. See ya.